And we're live here on Every Point's a Winner. Hello, I'm Axel Phillips. I've got a few gripes with the NRL, including the bunker funds. Well, they're working for the NRL, and I really believe we'll get to that discussion. You'll see a couple of games that we're going to talk about. We're going to go through the stats, some very important news also with the State of Origin a little bit later. We're going to go through the stats first and find my gripes for the week. And probably we can also talk about that amazing try for Nawanga Tanawazi, or whatever his name is, as we like to call him here, Mark Nawazi. Nawanga Tanawazi, I don't know. It's like saying Fawala Masalazi, Fawala Masawali. Yeah, we can't, Tino F, we usually call him here as well. So let's get it stuck into the stats straight away. Thanks for joining us here on Every Point's a Winner. We have the chat open. If you'd like to make a comment, please comment, like, and subscribe to keep this program going. And the game survival mode, we need this for the NRL, and back off those people in the bunker who are destroying the natural flow of the game. But we'll get to you very, very shortly. Okay, the first match was a disgraceful effort from the Knights again. Hang your head low. Have you won one game at Marathon? It's highly unlikely. I can barely talk about them. We'll talk about the stats. It was 5-1. We did tip Parramatta, and unfortunately, when I said to you during the tips, we're going to grab Mitchell Moses and put him in there eventually. I forgot to put him in there. But we did have Zach Lomax and Dylan Brown to give us our double. Jordan Samrani went over in the 66th minute. Luckily, Dylan Brown went over in the 63rd minute. Zach Lomax scored in the 14th and the 55th minute. But we had a couple of try scorers that we relied on for our other 2 and 3-leg parlays for Newcastle, and they just didn't show up. If you wonder why I'm dressed like a thug at the moment, I feel like a thug. I need to really let it all out today, let all my anguish out, because I have a lot of gripes at the moment. But it's freezing in Sydney at the moment. It's wet. There's more cold coming, and as you can hear, I'm sniffling at the moment. And we might have to go off camera and have a good blow of the nose. But anyway, James Schiller went over in the 74th minute. That was of little consolation, really. Ponga, at least he got picked for the State of Origin. He did play outstanding. His team just didn't show up again. Kai Pearce-Paul, lemon of the week. What the hell were you doing at a vital stage of the match? You just pushed the guy over again when you hadn't given a penalty, and then because it was 3 infringements in a row, you got sent to the sin bin, and that was a deserved sin bin for mine. Please excuse me for a minute. Okay, we might have to do that a few times during the wrap-up. Okay, at halftime, it was 10-0, and it just blew out to 28-6. Could have been more. It really could have. Tyson Gamble, I think, I don't mean to say this directly to you, but I think you're just not cutting it anymore. Yeah, you had come off a broken nose operation, but you're just not what Newcastle Knights needed. They need a lot, and it was 39 tackles to Kai Pearce-Paul. Sometimes you can be a good defender, but sometimes you just can't use your brain, and you did not use your brain. Riley Smith, who we had the week before, 38 tackles. Kalen Ponga, most run meters, 254. Zach Lomax, who just came back recently, 271. Most line breaks, Kalen Ponga, and 2 to Zach Lomax. Well, that fits the bill. Let's have a look at the important stats here. This tells the tale. 55%. Excuse me for a minute. 45% possession for the Knights, 55 for the Parramatta Eels. They just look better all across the park. They're really starting to gel now. And with Zach back and Mitchell Moses had another blinder and scored that first try. All runs meters, 1,983 for Parramatta. They held the ball a lot more and a lot better. The completion rates and 116.42 for the Knights. Kicks 23, much better kicking game from Moses. 23 kicks to 19 Newcastle. Well, if you haven't got the ball, you're not going to need to kick much, are you? But their kicking aim was very standard and ordinary. Kicking meters, 764, fantastic there from Parramatta, and 592 from the Knights. Tackles made, 371 for Newcastle Knights and only 338 for Parramatta. Well, they're telling tales, aren't they? Missed tackles, this is the tale of woe for Newcastle. Disgraceful. 49 missed tackles to only 22 missed tackles for Parramatta. As I said, it could have been much worse than what was it in the end? It was 22 points the margin. Phenomenal. Okay, start packing your bags for next year, Newcastle Knights. That's cool. The games you should have won, you just didn't. And the games you folded on, well, I have no answer for the Knights at the moment. We know it's there's combinations in the halves missing, and Tyson Gamble, it was a bad selection. Eels, they were outstanding and deserved their win fully. The next match was more enjoyable, apart from an incident that really broke our hearts as far as our tips here on Every Points a Winner is concerned. It was Bulldogs 24, Roosters 20. This really, pound for pound, if the bunker funds did not intervene and interject when they did and just let the game flow, it would have been a much more interesting finish and even probably closer, and it could have swung the game to East a lot more. And this was involved with Mark Nawanda Tawazi. Let's just go on Mark Nawazi, because we're still having trouble getting that out. Mark Nawazi scored one of the most amazing tries we've ever seen, balanced on that 1 foot when you're supposed to be leading with that foot, knowing that if he put it down, it was going to be disallowed, and then ran around the corner post, the in-goal corner post, to score an amazing try, and it just bounced perfectly for him to put enough downward pressure. Still, and he was shaking his head after he scored. He was still perplexed that he scored it himself, even though he was telling his teammates that he had scored. Just one of the most amazing tries we'll ever see, probably in 2025. 4 tries to 3. Didn't quite tell the tale because the disallowed try with Toya is my big gripe of the week. The big gripe of the week is how they can. Is it Casey Badger again? I'm blowed if I know. She had another shocker later on. And I've had a look online, go online and find out how many times South have asked her to be sacked out of the bunker. It's just amazing. And to me, she loves hearing her own voice. And it just destroys the game while she's talking out loud to tell people what she thinks. Give me a break. Anyway, let's go over the tries. It was Mark Nawazi scoring 2 tries, phenomenal. Lindsay Collins, well, didn't I have egg on my face after having that little joke that he does look a little bit like a Nick Nolte lookalike? Well, he came back from his injury and he scored, and I had egg running down my face. So well done there, Lindsay Collins. Max Burton went over in the 73rd minute, and luckily for us, but unfortunately, because we had it with Robert Toya, how that was, how they found separation. My gripe is, if he's turning the ball over with his hand, how can they just keep on looking at over and over in the bunker and find out there's separation when he's still Well, he still put enough downward pressure on that ball. Have a look at it in semi-slow motion. That's a try. He never fully lost control of that ball. I don't care about this thing called separation. I've seen so many tries where the ball's fully bounced and they haven't even looked at it. Give me a break, Bunker. That cost us a fortune because Robert Toyer came up at very good odds and we had Matt Burton at 4-1 or nearly 7-2. And we had every all other try scorers running into him with Bronson Sherry. And I even chucked in Villami kick out. So that really set us back. That put me in a foul mood for the rest of the round. And then there was worse to come with the North Queensland game. I'm really going to throw Badger under the truck here. I don't give a damn. It has to be said. Okay, let's go back to, because I've lost that page in all my anger. Matt Burton kicked very well, 4 from 4, and so did Sandon Smith. It was very, very topsy-turvy there for a while, but I still think that Robert Toyer try should have been allowed. And I may be speaking through my pockets, but who else wasn't speaking through their pockets? I got a couple of friends emailing me saying they're happy he didn't score. Well, good for you. I hope you can handle it when they take a try of you. I really do. Okay, as I said, at halftime was 14-0, and the Bulldogs basically won that second half 24-6. An amazing comeback, and Matt Burton's try was phenomenal. I think what we've learned in the past, if we're struggling to have an anytime try scorer banker, if nothing's jumping out of us, go with the class. We did the week before with Steve Crichton, and look at the blinder he had. He did a beautiful try-saving tackle as well when one of the East players was out into the clear, and that's who you really want. Even if they're not exactly prolific try scorers, they're the ones, when the game's in the balance, that pick up to that standard, that high-class standard that they are, and they'll usually get you out of trouble. And that's what happened again with Canterbury, and they're still leading the competition. We'll go over that a little bit later. Possession was pretty much, when I looked at the stats this morning, I looked at all the replays yesterday. I spent most of the day going over the extended replays and some of the longer, the entire game replays when I had the time, but it was mainly the extended replays. I heard the games and then watched the little highlights, but extended really shows you a lot more. It was 50-50 possession rate. All runs meters, 1,676, very close, and 1,603 for both sides there. The kicks 25 to Roosters over 23 to Burton, and Burton did cause Mark Nawazi a lot of issues. A lot of issues for Mark, and he did those swirly balls, and a couple of times Mark, maybe 3 or 4 times Mark knocked it on, which led to Canterbury coming right onto the attack and inside the Roosters 20. Missed tackles, these are significant and quite strange. 36 missed tackles for Canterbury and only 29 for Roosters. Reid Marnie again tops the tackle count here, 49, and Connor Watson at 56. Most run meters, Connor Tracy, that was my fault for standing him out. Had I stood out Burton, we would have picked up all the Canterbury legs with it, the doubles. 178. It just wasn't the game for Tracy to score, and Roosters dominated all that first half, and he just didn't get enough of the ball for mine, Connor Tracy. Excuse me again. All the bloody chemtrails have been dropping off in the sky recently. I'm not surprised that many people are sick, not just from the cold. Okay, but let's get back to the real issue here. Most line breaks, Kiraz 1 and 2 for Mark Nawazi, who played out of his skin. And Max King, I think, got a run into the origin with his solid game again. So the stats were fairly even, but as I said, the bunker destroyed our chance. And East I'm surprised that their coach didn't jump up more there at Accor Stadium in the press conference. Let's go to the Saturday match. Dolphins. This is another one of my gripes, and I'll tell you why I stopped betting after the Cowboys and the Manly game because of Casey Badger. Thank you, Casey. The Dolphins 12 and 16. Now I did tell you during the preview of the round to go easy, and that's what I did. I got stung by another result in a disallowed try in this match, and that was it for me. I thought, yeah, I'm listening to my own advice. I'm pulling all my bets down, and then of course, 2 or 3 of the doubles got up, but hopefully you guys still had them. Dolphins 12, Warriors 16. This is another game that was so stop and start. The Dolphins got so many decisions against them. I think it should have been a lot closer than 16-12. Let's have a look here. Although we picked the Warriors to win, I just think when I heard it on the radio, it was so disjointed, so, as we like to say here, discombobulated, with so many times the referee intervening, a bunker coming in. It was non-stop in that first half. No wonder Dolphins couldn't get their hands on the ball. Sin bins, James Fisher-Harris, that was a pretty good shoulder he used, but you're not allowed to use it these days. And I just love the look on his face. He was so determined coming back for his first time this year after his injury. Excuse me, people. Let's have a look. We had one attempted field goal from Luke Metcalf, a 2-point field goal, probably just before half-time there. At half-time was 10-0 to the Warriors, and they really didn't get a look in the Dolphins because so many decisions went against them. Jermaine Osako could kick very well. Luke Metcalf got 2 from 3. Murata Neokore, we had him. He went over. Kurt Capewell, that pass from Luke Metcalf to Kurt Capewell, he had to be the class player that he is, Kurt Capewell. I haven't had a full look at the State of Origin. We're going to do that before we close out today and have a quick little discussion about that. But that catch, it can only be someone as classy as Kurt Capewell. It was right out in front of him, but that's where he needed it. And he realised he was in the clear, and the look on his face is, and it just went over, and fantastic, because he's been doing this 1-2 combination with Luke Metcalf, and Capewell back to Metcalf, and Metcalf's been scoring. The thing that killed me in this game also, apart from the referees just blowing the whistle too much and not letting it flow, was Jacob Laban. I had him the week before, and he went over in the 69th minute, and I thought, no. Because the players we had, including Lika Halasima and a few other the players, including Pompey, just didn't look like scoring there. And that was when Dolphins mounted their comeback. So basically, the Dolphins won that second half 12-6. Amazing. Let's get to the stats that made will tell us the tale of what really happened as well as what we witnessed. They just left their run too late, but I really think the refs were fully against the Dolphins here and just didn't let that game flow. I think it would have been a totally different game had they put the whistle away. So please do it in occasional matches, thanks, to make it flow. 54% Dolphins, 46 to Warriors. All runs meters, 15-59 to the Warriors, and a lot more, 17-35 to the Dolphins. 19 kicks to 19, that's the same. Kicking meters, pretty much close, but a bit more to the Warriors. 549 against 508. Tackles made, 375 to the Warriors, 352 to the Dolphins. Missed tackles, pretty much the same, 32-30, 32 to Warriors, 30 to Dolphins. Most tackles, Kurt Donahoe. Excuse me again. Nose is running like a frickin' tap. Okay, Kurt Donahoe, 50. Wayne Egan, 48. He is an absolute workhorse. Herbie Farnworth, most run meters, 179, and that was a great try to round it out for the Dolphins, but they ran out of time. 193, Roger Tulvazeshek. That's the other guy that we chucked in. And we did have the hammer as well, but we didn't link it up with Laban, which we did the week before. So going off Laban really cost us. But as I said, I think it was the referee that cost us as well. Let's go to the next match. Warriors still playing out of their skin. Had the game had a decent referee and a bunker that didn't intervene, that game would have been a lot more enjoyable. There's no doubt about it. And Dolphins may have even caused an upset there over the Warriors, because Warriors were backed in hard and they had a lot of supporters there up in the home territory, Suncorp of the Dolphins. Let's get into the full-time score here with the Cowboys. Here's where I drew the line. I'd had enough. Cowboys brought out one of their worst games ever. And another lemon of the week, brother. The last one was Kai Pearce-Paul. This is to the coach. I'm sorry. Why the hell did you sack Jake Clifford? Oh, I don't want to hear what the radio and all the media, the other media, are saying that it's because they're seeing they're seeing the player that they moved from the half, which was, let me just have a look here. One of our favourite players. They moved him from the centre to the halves, and he had a shocker. He had an absolute shocker. Let's have a look here. The possession rate was 50-50. All runs meters 16.59. The Manly side, and Manly are a side that can really, as my mother used to say, dig into your crawl. They really get at your crawl. Whatever a crawl means, I'm not quite sure, but it's really gets at you, eats you alive. 16.57, 16-12 to the Cowboys. The kicks 21-20, so very even there. Kicking meters were a lot more to Manly, thanks to Dar Cherry Evans, 632. Wow, only 460, because they barely had the freaking ball. Well, they couldn't keep it. They put on a Newcastle effort. Their completion rate was disgraceful. Even surprisingly, though they had enough possession to do something with it, they couldn't keep it. Kicking meters, dominated there. 352 tackles made, and an extra 30 less for the Cowboys. That's interesting. So the tackles made, Manly had to do a lot more tackles there. Another 20 sets of tackles there. Missed tackles there, 37. That's where the stat is really pushing us here. Cowboys, 37 missed tackles to only 20 to Manly. And there's one of the reasons why they just brought their worst game. And let's have a look here. Reece Robson, 47 tackles yet again, and he secured that spot into the Origin. Jake Tavaga, 36 for Manly, 47 for Robson for the Cowboys. Vialea, 206 most run meters for the Cowboys, 230. Lehigh Hopewadi, who had a pretty good game. Robert Darby, who scored the only try for Cowboys. They brought their worst game for about 3 years. I haven't seen them play that bad before, but Manly can do that too. Once they start to get a bit of momentum, they can really shut you down and make you do a lot of mistakes. Reece Robson, 46. I'm just looking for the There must have been a few errors here. But yeah, the lemon of the week goes to basically goes to the coach. I think sacking Clifford and moving those changes, although Dearden still played out of his skin, the support from it was a Jake. I've forgotten his freaking name. Give me a second, folks. I was that disturbed. I went to bed listening to the game and I'm just shaking my head. Sinbin Stravojevic did a professional foul, got sent off there at the 79th minute. Scott Drinkwater tried hard, but he just let down by the ball handling of his side. Player stats. Here we go. I'll be able to see the player stats here and find that player that I'm talking about. Okay, it was Jackson Purdue, one of our favourite players. Yes, they're saying, wow, he played most of his junior football at 5'8". Go to hell. Sorry. He looks so inadequate, moving him from centre where he's been causing, and he's got more room to move, and he's got that sidestep. He had an awful game right next to Dearden. Jackson Purdue. So 11 of the week to the coach. Hopefully, if he sticks with that, I got to say to you, buddy, okay, Mr. Todd Payton, if you're going to keep that same lineup, expect the same thing against these hard-to-beat sides like Manly, East, whoever you're playing. There's a few buys coming up because of the state of origins course, and we only got the 5 games. And so there's many having a bye this week as the boys go into camp, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Just overall, very, very disappointing there from the Cowboys. But that was where I drew the line. I said no more because we relied very much. Dearden was our banker. Jackson Purdue was our second banker. And although we snuck in with Ben Travojevic, we only got the win bet on him, which barely covered the bets. So that was the end for us. And we lost about 3/4 of our $100 for those 3 games, including the Cody Nicarima disallowed try, which shouldn't have been disallowed. They watched it about 100 times in the bunker before believing that Homicide Tabuai Fado touched the ball. He did not touch the ball. And it should have been a try to Cody Nicarima, which cost us more doubles. But that's another story altogether and another game. But that was enough for us to nearly lose our entire bank for those 3 games. And we at least needed 1 or 2 doubles to get up to play for the rest of the round. But I'd had enough. Excuse me. I did tell you to go easy. I'd had enough at that stage. And I'm sort of glad I did because some of the results didn't go away, apart from the Canberra game, which we would have got quite a lot of our money back. But sometimes you just got to leave the casino or wherever you are, leave the TAB and just go, well, it's not my day. But anyway, we did have 4 very successful weeks prior, and I warned you that was a very, very tough weekend, and some of the refereeing decisions had me flabbergasted, as the old Rex Mossop used to say, Vale Rex Mossop. Okay, the next game was probably, that was the Saturday afternoon game, wasn't it? Yeah, in Sydney, the Shark Stadium, 31-26. This was a classic game. It was 5 tries all. Most of the pundits picked Melbourne Storm. How could you not? Coming off the thrashing of the West Tigers, but they had a pretty bad strike rate at Cronulla Park there, or Endeavour. We used to call it Endeavour Oval. Endeavour Field. They changed the name so many times, and now it's Shark Stadium. Adam Fanua-Blake went over on the 21st. Ronaldo Mulatalo went over in the 7th. Grant Anderson was the first to open up the card for Melbourne, and it was tit for tat. 31-26 in the end, just a 5-point margin to the Sharks, and well tip there by Peter Connors. It got him one back because after he tipped against the Bulldogs on the Friday. Let's have a look here. Daniel Atkinson went over in the 26th and then the 52nd minute. Carl Era was our tip and one of our bankers there. And however, we did not have Xavier Coates. Nick Meaney we had the week before, and so did we have Grant Anderson. So Kyle Era would have got a bit of your money back there. But, yeah, disappointing as far as that's concerned. But it was a great match that went right down to the wire, and I thought Melbourne were going to snatch it. But when you see the halftime score, it was 25 because they got to snap that. Braden Trindle snapped the field goal over a minute before halftime, and it was 25-12. And so you have a 13-point margin there. Only ended up being 5 because it was in the end it was 14-6 to Melbourne in the second half. Amazing. Let's have a look at some stats that might tell us the tale here. It's pretty much 51 to 49% possession. That's 50-50. Split down the line there. All runs meters a lot more from Melbourne, 1,637, but you expect that with an attacking side. 1,530 to the Sharks. The kicks, 20 from Munster and the boys, and from Melbourne, and 15 there from Chicky Trindle and the lads of Cronulla. Let's have a look here. Kicking meters, 489, a little bit more. Tackles made, 299 for Melbourne, 303. Because Melbourne were finishing like a train, like a runaway train, they really had to tackle hard there at the end, with Cronulla holding out. The top tacklers, there we go. The workhorse personify again with Cameron McGuinness, 38. Trent Liero played out of his skin, 36. Big Nelson had a big game. I thought he was going to bust over a few times. Asofa Solomona, he's really warming up. Adam Fanua-Blake, 249, and Solomona, 158. Most line breaks, Daniel Atkinson really played well when he came on as the subby, and Xavier Coates, 2 to Daniel Atkinson. Okay, so really it was a 50-50 game, and Cronulla got away with it, and they showed a little bit of class there over the last 2 weeks. So congratulations to the Sharks. But to me, the next game was a fantastic game. It was up in Suncorp Stadium, Dragons and Broncos. Broncos 26, storming home, Dragons 30. Got up in the final strides and beat the Broncos. It was 5 tries to 4. This Luke is really getting to us. It was 5 tries to 4. Terrell Sloan went over twice for St George. Clint Gutherson, man of the match, clearly. If I could have given him 6 points instead of 3, I would have. Clint Gutherson went over in the 52nd minute and the 74th minute. And that's when St George made their comeback. Because at half-time, it was 12-4 to the Broncos. You sort of knew when it was only 8 points in it that St George were not going to go away. They were desperately hungry, and it was one of their best games they've had for about 2 months at least. And I did tell you going into the preview that they've lost 3 games by 1 point. Had they won 2 of those games with that field goal instead of losing by a field goal, they would have been clearly in the top 6. So well done to Saints. It was such a gutsy win. And Jacob Little with that 57th minute when he did the goose step on Ezra Mann was fantastic. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach Flanagan, for finally listening to the pundits, the fans of the NRL, and for listening to me. You've got to have him on there for longer. Even if you start with Jacob Little, or you'll at least give him 3/4 of the match, not just half the match, brother. He's lethal, Jacob Little, and he played out of his skin. He got my 2 points for this man of the match, just under Clint Gutherson, who played outstandingly well. Ezra Mann also got my 2 points and 1 point. I was tossing between Ezra Mann and Jacob Little, but we go to Terrell Sloan. Okay, the penalty goals, pretty much one each. Reynolds played really well, but the tackle at the end there, when they were trying to get that winning play, was phenomenal. And it was the big forward that tackled him from behind that caused the issue. But Reynolds did play exceptionally well. Let's have a look at the possession rate. It was fairly 50-50, a bit like the Cronulla and Melbourne game, 51 to 49%. All runs meters here, 1,782, a lot more from the Broncos. I really thought Payne Haas, when he was on the burst, I didn't think St George were going to stop him. But it took desperate defence there. And he was stopped short of the line. 782, 1,639 to St George. The kicks, 23. A very good kicking game for St George. Did that make a difference? 18 to the Broncos. Tackles made, 341, a lot more for St George. They had to use a lot of desperate scrambling defence there at the end, as Broncos made that last-ditch effort. 327. To me, this was the game of the because it flowed as well. It wasn't destroyed by the referees of the bunker. And the tackles made, 327 there for Broncos, so surprisingly less. Missed tackles, fairly even, 31 to the Broncos, 28 missed tackles to St George. Valentine Holmes played really well. There wasn't a player I could say played ordinary for St George. I think they all played very, very well. Let's have a look here. It was most tackles, Patrick Carrigan. There you go. I think that's 5 or 6 weeks in a row that he's got the top tackle count. He's just a machine. Damien Cook, outstanding game, and he did a couple of try-saving tackles as well. 46. He was the top tackle count out of the entire game. Clint Gutherson, most run meters, what a game, 233. And Shibasaki, who is one of our bankers and probably our only boy we collected off there. We got some of our money back, but as I said, I'd stop playing at that stage. 200 metres. Most line breaks, Shibasaki. He played outstandingly good. And Clint Gutherson, 2. So congratulations to St George. I think that is the game that you need to blueprint for the rest of the season. I truly think that was the near perfect second half for St George. I really do. I think that's the blueprint for you to go forward. You can see a couple of the sides that are losing now as they start heading to the bottom 8, and you can see the sides that are charging. And as Scotty said, Scotty Pearce-McLeod, this is the testing point over the next 3 or 4 weeks during the State of Origin period, or the next 5 to 6 weeks, isn't it? When they spread the origin out and some players can come back, but they don't usually play that well. And they're usually very, very tight in the origin, especially if it's anything like last year's Origin series. It was just an amazing series. Okay, so that was the St George game and the Broncos. It was a game that most of the pundits backed Broncos, but to be honestly perfect, I'm glad St George finally got it together and finally turned around, because I haven't tipped them for a while. I was happy not to pick up the point there in not tipping them, but seeing them finally get it together. But well done, Coach Flanagan. You're finally listening to the fans. Okay, the next match was a pretty much one-sided affair, one-act affair. It was the low-placed Titans, 24, destroyed by Raiders, 40 to 24. A big shout-out to Steve Lamb, who's a massive, massive Canberra Raiders fan. Well done to you, buddy. this is a game I wish we would have stuck with our numbers, because Jojo Jafita was one of our main bankers, along with, of course, we always stand out Hudson Young. He went over in the 45th minute. There was 8 tries to 4. Jojo Jafita went over twice to make sure of it. Fatua Iki went over in the 77th minute. Moliaki Fatuiiki and Jojo Fafita twice. Pahulu went over in the 33rd minute. Xavier Savage, was it 3 tries he scored there? 1, 2, 3 tries, 74th minute. 40th minute, right on half time there, which destroyed the Titans. Zach Hosking went over in the 37th. Timoko went over twice. So it's one of those games, had you predicted that it was going to be a thrashing like that, they're the times you can take your favourite try scorers like a Timoko or a Savage and have them 2+ tries. But, unless you've got a crystal ball and you know that's going to happen, you can't really back it with any confidence. And they're usually odds on anyway, but you can usually get about 5-2, 3-1 if they do score those second tries. But don't hold your breath waiting for that second try to come. But it was one of those games, wasn't it? Let's have a look at the possession rate here. A lot more to Canberra, of course, 55 to 45 of the Gold Coast Titans. All runs meters, 1,985. They ran rings around them to Canberra, and 1,503. Crikey's, they were overshadowed by class. Titans, 400 metres less kick all runs meters. The kicks, 22. Very good kicking in there from Fogarty, 22 to 19 over the Gold Coast. Kicking metres, surprisingly a little bit more there to the Titans, 575 to 549 of the Raiders. Tackles made, 338 to Canberra Raiders and 364 to the Gold Coast Titans. That's a lot more. That's another 5 or 6 sets of 6. That's going to take the wind from your sail, especially against a side that's hungry as hell and is lethal with speed in their front line and their back line. Phenomenal. Across the park, they are such a lethal attacking force, Canberra. And let's look here. The most tackles, Tom Starling yet again, topped the tackle count, and Sam Verrills is an absolute work tackling machine, 52. Most run meters, KO Weeks had a big game again, 225. Jojo Jafita, 177. Most line breaks, KO Weeks 2. Jojo Jafita, 1. So that was a game where, had I reinvested our selections, we would have had a very good win there with at least 2 or 3 doubles and maybe 1 3-leg parlay getting up there. But my goose was cooked by the time I had possibly 3 disallowed tries that cost us a fortune here on every point's a winner, and I'd had enough. But anyway, that was a really good win to Canberra Raiders. Onwards and upwards for them. We'll have a look at the table before we close it out after our quick little State of Origin geese. The next game, let's have a look here. It was the West Tigers 12, Rabbitohs 22. This is the most enjoyable game. It went down to the wire. South opened up the account with Savili Havili going over in the 9th minute, Ewan Aiken in the 24th minute, and then Api Coruscant's try just before halftime gave a little bit of fire into the hearts of the West Tigers fans and their team. That was a phenomenal sidestep and left that State of Origin tip. Latrell Mitchell standing in the wake. Phenomenal. He did it again to Latrell in the 68th minute. Alex Johnson, good to see him back after all his injuries. Great player. He was one of our tips here, but unfortunately we didn't get any of the tips coming through on the West Tigers side. The game was really marred by the amount of rain, but these two teams threw caution to the wind, and just were throwing the ball around like a hotcake. By the end of the game, you could barely see the players, honestly. In the extended highlight replays there, it was torrential out there at Campbelltown, and it was raining in the hearts of the West Tigers fans. But at least this time they showed a lot more courage than what they did against a very informed Melbourne Storm side. Let's have a look here. Galvin got. There's another. Yes, he. If you want to call separation, it's a big bugbear of mine. I spoke to my brother, and all the best, Larry, and it seemed as they changed hands, but he never really lost control of that ball. So I really feel for West Tigers fans there. But it was, if you want to talk about separation, maybe there was a little bit more separation in that try compared to the Toya try. But you just knew, and even the commentators knew on the radio, that that try was going to be taken off them. That could have changed the face of the game. But pound for pound, when you look at the halftime when it was 12-6 and the end score being 22-12, they both basically won both sides of the halves, South Sydney. So they probably were the best side out there. Tallis Duncan, although he got sent to the sin bin, had a big game. Let's have a look here. Possession rate, 51% to the Tigers, over 49 to South. All runs meters, 2004, a lot more for the Tigers, 1794 to South. Kicks, 23-23. Kicking meters, 777, a lot more from South. A very good kicking game with making a lot of ground there. Tackles made, 405 Tigers, 374 to South. Yet again, another 5 or 6 sets of 6 there that they had to make, and that's going to gas you. But they played really well. Both sides made a very entertaining game for us to watch as we closed out round 11, which was full of controversy for mine. Missed tackles, 40 to the Tigers and 38 to South Sydney. Most tackles, Terrell May. Well, if that didn't get you, I don't know whether you got a. I haven't had, as I said, I had a really brief look this morning when I was in office prison, while someone was looking over my shoulder. I couldn't get a look whether you got onto the bench there, Terrell May. But anyway, outstanding, 63 tackles. That's near record. Keon Kolomatangi, have they not moved him into the forwards whilst they've had all these injuries? I think they did. 49, phenomenal. He's such a work animal. Most run meters, Kolomatangi again, 282, got them out of trouble a lot of the time, including Jerome Buller, had a very good game, 285. He's a really good up-and-coming youngster. Apasai Coruscant, 3. Most line breaks to Isaiah Tass. Geez, that was unlucky for our tips because we had Isaiah Tass at the big value. You never get him at close to 3-1. I think he's like $2.85 or $2.75, and he was held up over the line. Very, very unlucky. And so was Terrell May, who was another one of our bankers. But anyway, let's quickly go. I think, as I said, the best side won there, and at least the Tigers lifted from the previous week. Let's change this page over to the Ampol State of Origin and have a look at the teams here. As we finish our presentation, Kalen Ponga got the fullback role. Congratulations for Queensland. He's been playing outstanding whilst he's been playing in a side that has no hunger, and had way too many injuries and have had that halves issue that has followed them into 2025. It sort of destroyed them a little bit in the previous year, and now it's just with all their forward injuries. Kalen Pong has still been playing outstanding, so congratulations. Dylan Edwards got the number 1 for New South Wales. To'o, of course, has got his usual spot. Crichton, his usual spot. Looks like the big missing one here is Bradman Best. Latrell Mitchell's got his spot there. Hammerside's got his spot back there for Queensland. Robert Toyer, there's a interesting inclusion. He'll be facing up against Stephen Crichton, but it's good to see some new blood coming in there for Queensland. Valentine Holmes is on the wing, surprisingly there for against Zach Lomax. That's a pretty good matchup, though, however, even though he's not playing in his centre role. Karen Munster got the 6. Well done, Cam. Mitchell Moses, congratulations. You deserve it. Dale Cherry Evans against Nathan Cleary. Like to hear a comment from Scotty Pearce McLeod on that one. Then Mitchell Barnett in the forwards. Got his spot back again there. Futuaika got a run there for the Queensland side. Harry Grant got his spot back there with Reece Robson. He's been outstanding in defence and attack. Reece Robson, you deserved your spot. Payne Haas, yes, fair enough. Tino Fa'asamoali, or Tino F, as we call him here, has got into the team. So well done for him. I think the last time he was injured at that stage, been out for a long time. Ruben Cotter got his spot back in 11 against Liam Martin. Angus Crichton comes up against Jeremiah Nanai. So that's similar to last year. Patrick Carrigan, you had to get your spot back with the captain going to Yayo or Isaiah Yeo. Interchange there, Tom Dearden. Thank God. He's been outstanding. I really felt sorry for him last weekend because whilst he was trying his heart out, having Jackson Purdue and the rest of North Queensland being discombobulated by the late change, it was really tough for him. So well done. He got the 14. Connor Watson, 14. Well done. He's been very solid for East. Spencer Leniu and Nick Nolte lookalike Lindsay Collins is on the interchange. Also, Beau Fermor, fantastic, buddy. You've been outstanding. Hudson Young, interchange. I mean, you could even, I don't know, you can't put them all in, but I would have also had Hudson Young nearly in the main side there. But Max King is also on the interchange bench, so well done there, fella. And Trent Liero is the interchange for Queensland. Very interesting. Reserves are Kurt Mann. Well done, fella, for the old Canterbury Bulldogs there. Campbell Graham, great to see you as getting a reserve, just in case. Utokamanu for Melbourne and Olakawatu for Manly for the New South Wales side. Jesse Arthurs, interesting, you got in there. And Fini Fuyaki for Queensland there. Yeah, interesting. We'll obviously be going over the State of Origin match as we get closer to it. What do you think? Some good to see, as I said, Robert Toy to get in there, and Futuaki or Futiwaika, Milwaukee Futiwaika. Not easy to get out of the tongue. Mitchell Barnett, you deserve your spot too, mate. But anyway, what do you think about the sides? I'm sort of glad Kalen Ponga got a run. Let's see if he makes a big difference to the Queensland side. We're looking forward to it. It's only about, what is it now, 10 days away or so. 8 days away after today. So Wednesday week, is it? Yes, Wednesday week. We're looking forward to it here. Let's just go back, and we should be doing a preview on Thursday. So thanks for joining us today. It's Axel Phillips here. Sorry for all my lemon awards, but the people who got the lemon awards deserved it, including a coach, Casey Badger. Please stop intervening and listening to your own voice over and over and over and over again. It's destroying the momentum, the movement of the match, and stop getting a magnifying glass. It's football. Let's treat it like football. Give me a break with this separation rubbish. Enough downward pressure. That's it. That rule needs to be changed. or you're going to lose a lot of fans. I'm Axel Phillips. Join us on Thursday for our tips. As I said, there's only the 5 games spreading over from Thursday to Sunday, so it's we're going to have to fill up some time doing some housework around here and meeting up with some friends. Hopefully the weather's better this coming weekend, but it hasn't started too well. Keep warm, put your headgear on. Always remember that you lose most of your heat out of your head. You see the players coming off after playing in the rain or what have you, and there's mad steam coming out of their head, like Herman Munster or Milton the Monster. All right, guys, for now, let's go into survival mode. God bless you. See you on Thursday. Bye for now.